Hello friends. Today I would like to introduce you to a relatively new species of a tree used for bonsai. There is a reason why there is a tradition of using certain trees for bonsais and not other ones. Pine or Japanese maple, or later on in tropics, ficus. Trees that have a certain characteristics suitable for art and craft of miniaturization. They have maybe small leaves, or leaves that can be made small by defoliation, or they have a very bendable twigs that can be styled into desired shape by wiring, and or they have ability to back butt, to create lots of new twigs to make a thick canopy. Different reasons. Also, plants, perennial trees or bushes that are happy to be in a pot, that don't mind to be growing healthily for years or even decades or even century or even more in a container under the guide of somebody who knows what she or he is doing. Well, there is a new species, relatively new species, native to Puerto Rico, that has some of these characteristics, namely very small leaves and thick twigs. If pruned, it creates a thick canopy. So after a while it can look even more perhaps like a miniaturized old tree, even more so than this one. This one being one of the species of a ficus. Anyway, the plant native to Puerto Rico that I'm talking about, that is one of the latest additions to bonsai craft. I'm not sure if I pronounce it correctly, but it's called Neea, N-E-E-A, Buxifolia or Buxifolia. Let me show you. First on the internet, and then on my bonsai in making. Let me get inside quickly. Okay, here we are. So this is the name of that tree. Neea is the name of a genus, contain about 50 species, and the one from Puerto Rico that has a super small leaves and super thick canopy if pruned is Buxifolia. There are other members of this genus throughout the Caribbean, but they are not so suitable. But this one is a hit. Look how thick the canopy can get after pruning. Here was less pruned, so it's less thick canopy. Compare. It is possible to grow it from seeds. Here you can see that it has the fruit that contains the seed, but mine so far never had flowers and fruits, and I never was able to find seeds of this species sold on the internet. It is said that it is possible to root twigs of this species. Here you can see somebody cut the trunk to start the bonsai, and right away it made twigs. Well, I tried several times so far. I'm sorry to say I failed to root twig each and every time. Often people who wants to make a bonsai from this species, often buy a trunk, chop it, it makes twigs, and then sit around and wait for this tree to be able to cut the big twigs, recut. But such a trunks are expensive, and so I started with just a tiny little plant. I didn't make a photo or video of that little plant, but it looked something like this when I purchased it. Given a time and special care by bonsai artist, or that artist's children and later on grandchildren, it can look very much like a bonsai. To me, fantastically looking, because it has a very small leaves and it's relatively easy to containerize, and it responds to pruning by making so many twigs. Such a bonsai takes care and time to make and can be very expensive. Here is an example of one offered for $2,500 currently on eBay. Here is an example of another currently offered for $3,000 on eBay. But one can buy just a starting little plant for $10. Well, that's eBay. Let me show you what I have. Let me show you my Neea Buxifolia plant. Here it is, my Neea Buxifolia that refused to make so far any flowers, seeds, refused to root any twig that I tried to root, but I found a good way to propagate this plant. Looky look. From the roots, it shoots twigs. 1, 2, 3. So all 4, 5. So all one has to do is let the twig grow. Look how small are the leaves. Very suitable for bonsai. Anyway, I'm side tripping. Let the twig grow to make some trunk, and disconnect it, get it with piece of the root, and voila, you'll have a new plant, and a new plant, and new plant. And that is the very easy way of multiplying, of propagating Neea Buxifolia. Not all perennial, not all bushes and trees is possible to propagate by root cuttings, but some do. Vines many, but the trees and bushes not so many. Especially trees not so many. But if you see that it grows actually twigs out of roots, well, then the answer is right there. One day, maybe I should make a video about all the perennials, all the trees that I know are easy to propagate by root cuttings, easier than by rooting twigs or even growing from seed or whatever. Okay, and that's the end of my story about the future bonsai and her babies of a species native to Puerto Rico that doesn't have a long history of being used for bonsai, but because it has a great potential for it, it is being used more and more often now for it. It's one of the bonsai trends.